Dámy a pánové, pan Reuben Halper. Please come on over. Stage, word, and everything else is yours.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My second intro of the day. So I was really excited to come here until about an hour ago when I realized I had to follow her and basically the David Letterman of the Czech Republic. And just a note to the organizers, that's really, really unfair. Put us up front, you know? It's just not cool to actually have to follow these people. So anyway, my name is Reuben Halper, and I'm actually based out of London, and I work for a team called Tango. And essentially, we're an internal creative agency within Google that helps brands and agencies across Europe exploit the creative potential behind different Google products and platforms. So working on developing strategies and all other sorts of communications that really make their digital campaigns shine. So what that translates to is watching a lot of YouTube, basically. And I'm also a bit of an ad dork, right? So I really like understanding some of the challenges that ad men had in the 50s and the 60s. Oren showed a great slide about the contrast between print and TV, you know, back in the 50s and going into the early 60s. And it's kind of analogous to today how digital's new, right? TV used to be the new kid on the block. There wasn't a lot of advertising. People didn't think it was going to be a big deal. Everybody was focused on print. And I feel like today, we're kind of in the same situation. And as I was reading this guy by the name of Howard Gossage, this quote just jumped out at me. And he says, not everyone reads advertising. They read what they're interested in. And sometimes that's advertising. And I think as marketers, we forget that, right? We think everybody's waiting for our new ad or waiting for our new product. And that's just not the reality, right? When's the last time you heard somebody, besides maybe Apple, say, oh, I can't wait to see the new TV spot about, you know, brand X. It doesn't really happen except for those hero brands. So for us, it becomes this question of how do we reach an audience if they don't really care? And especially if it's a media landscape that's more and more fragmented. So at YouTube, we do a lot of research in terms of user behavior and understanding motivation. And for us, it's really easy. It actually starts with 3 simple behaviors. All the activity that we talked about on YouTube, those 4 billion views a day, they can all be basically summed up in 3 words, and we call them the 3 E's. So the first is entertainment, right? Everybody in this room, I guarantee, has watched some sort of funny video on YouTube, whether it's, you know, branded content, whether it's user-generated content, whether it's fail videos. We've all done it, right? The second, perhaps a bit more surprisingly, is education. And education is absolutely huge. The number of queries that we get around how to, and then fill in the blank, make up one of the biggest categories. And it spans everything you could possibly imagine. It's stuff around fixing your house, it's computer tips, it's beauty and makeup. Just fill in the blank, and there's a video about how to do X. And then last but not least is expression. And this is really where it becomes powerful for brands. Expression can really be any sort of behavior, from rating a video, commenting on a video, uploading your own content, or perhaps most importantly, sharing a video. Because sharing is really saying something about yourself. It's an expression of you. So in terms of brands having success on YouTube, they tap into one of those 3 E's, or ideally, all 3 of them. So what I'd like to do now is take you through a few campaigns that we think really show off the power and the potential of using YouTube either as a standalone platform or with different media such as TV. So this is from Dodge. They're part of the Chrysler Group in the US. And they launched this car, the Dodge Journey is an SUV. They launched it about 2 years ago. And it's gotten 0 traction, right? It has almost no awareness. Their target demographic, it has almost no purchase intent. So they challenged their agency, which happens to be Wieden & Kennedy, to reinvigorate the brand, right? Reinvigorate the model, I should say. And generate a huge awareness campaign that's actually going to resonate somehow with their target audience. So what they did was kick it off with a TV spot. And I'll show you what the intro was.
People don't make a list of websites they want to see before they die. They don't fill photo albums with pictures from an online search. like being there is not like being there. It's okay. The internet will be just fine without you. That's why we built the first search engine for the real world, the Dodge Journey. And then, we left 3 somewhere out there. If you can find one, you can have one. You won't find any of them online, but it might help you figure out where they might be.
So that was a TV spot, and they ran that during a bunch of sporting events, sort of whatever you would normally expect 18, 34-year-olds go after. And really, it was just a teaser, and we're seeing a lot more of this, right? The TV spot becomes just an intro for the brand, just a teaser to get you into a deeper and richer experience online for that particular brand or that particular product. And you'll notice in the TV spot, they didn't have Dodge.com. They had YouTube.com. Because their research showed if you put your brand's website, people are expecting a hard sell, right? They're expecting to go there and not really have a fun time. They're just going to get products and much drier sort of content. Whereas you go to YouTube, you go to even Facebook, and you're expecting a different sort of experience, an experience that's not just about selling. So that was the intro into it, but let's take a look at how the campaign actually was going to work.
We hid 3 Dodge Journeys across the U.S. If you're the first adventurous soul to find one, you get a brand new Dodge Journey as your reward. It won't be easy to find it. So to help, we'll be releasing a series of videos with clues to some of the locations the journey passed through on its way. Each one you solve unlocks the next clue and ultimately may help you get to the final location. But even if you know the final location, you have to actually get there to get one. If you're able to find it, just walk up to the camera and say, "My name is whatever, and this is my new journey." That's it.
Right? So simple. It's a scavenger hunt. It's nothing new, right? But in this case, it's how they executed it. They're using some game mechanics to get people off the couch and actually get them out there in the real world looking for this car. And in terms of the campaign home, they made it on YouTube, right? They didn't create a microsite. This was a video-based campaign, so why not put it in the place where people are watching video? And this is a YouTube brand channel. All advertisers can have one of these. They can be as simple or as complex as you like. In this case, they made it fairly complex. It's really a full microsite, and it's a blank creative canvas for you as a brand to use. So they have the product videos, they have the commercials, but what's really clever is all those clues to find the cars were actually product videos. So they included the clue, but then they also included features about the actual car.
The Dodge Journey was named a 2011 IIHS Top Safety Pick because of safety features like advanced multi-stage airbags, side curtain airbags, and active head restraints. Since this is your final clue before you have to get out into the real world, be careful if you're looking for the journey in a car that isn't a 2011 IIHS Top Safety Pick.
So those were the clue videos. And then on the expression side, they brought together all their social activity into this one hub. So rather than having users go off to Twitter or go off to Facebook to contribute, they could do it all there, right? So they could actually join the conversation or see what people were saying about the clues. So it became this one place where people could contribute, see how close people were, or once they were close to finding the car, they actually live streamed it, right? So each of the cars actually, when somebody was within 5 miles, they live streamed it into their YouTube channel, and a ton of people ended up watching. If you look at the stats from the campaign, they shocked us. 25 minutes on average was spent of the people who were watching the live stream. That's a huge amount of time with the brand. You'd have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to actually get that sort of time spent. And then obviously it was successful in terms of having an increase in channel views, huge increase in terms of their Twitter activity. But to me, what really jumped out when we were doing some of the kind of debrief on the campaign was that this was an awareness campaign. It wasn't necessarily meant to sell. But look at the number of referrals and look at the number of people who signed up to actually receive more information from Dodge. These people are already halfway down the purchase funnel, and it was just supposed to be about awareness. So by executing this really nicely, they created something that actually had a direct response as well as an uplift in awareness. So really just a fantastic campaign that encompassed all three of those behaviors that I mentioned before. But let's actually split these out a little bit, because not every campaign is actually going to be able to hit all three. And to be honest, not every campaign is going to be able to invest that amount of time, that amount of effort, live streaming, putting these cars in the real world. It was a big bet on behalf of Dodge, and luckily it paid off. So this next example is from Perrier. Is everybody here familiar with Perrier? It's essentially Matoni for France. It's a sparkling water, and they are trying to target a very chic and hip audience, and they're trying to actually kind of reposition themselves so that they are associated with nightlife, which typically is where alcohol brands live, right? You don't think about sparkling water and nightlife. The two don't really work. And what they did is created this very unique experience where the more people who watched, the hotter the party got. So I don't know if you can see on the right-hand side, there are these different video levels, and they essentially shot 6 different videos that got hotter and hotter with each progressive level. But you could only unlock the levels once it got to a certain number of views. So it was a great way to actually encourage people to come back, as well as to encourage people to share the videos, because you want to see it get steamier, to get a little bit more risque, to get a little bit sexier. It's kind of hard to describe, so maybe the best way is to actually show you. You'll see on the next screen, basically the first level, which is super tame, then the mid-level, which is level 3, and then finally the full unveiling video. That short a little bit, just because we're slow, we're a little bit behind schedule apparently. But I encourage you to go watch it. It's a pretty cool video. And so you can see it got hotter. It was actually very well shot, very well done, and it was cool to kind of compare the different versions as it got steamier and steamier. And it's just this really simple but effective way of turning an individual viewing experience into triggering something social, triggering people to share it out. And that was the first time we'd seen that. The first time somebody had taken a video and had it evolve based off the number of views. And again, it was successful both in terms of channel views, it was successful in lifting their activity across other social media, but the campaign has been very successful in repositioning them slightly so that they're considered credible in the nightlife space, which wouldn't have been possible without this success. Now, you're probably thinking, that's great if you have a huge budget, right? They shot 6 versions of that video, but that's not the reality for most brands. That doesn't mean you can't have success. That doesn't mean you can't take your TV spot, for instance, and make it something more. And there's really just simple but clever ways that brands are doing this. So this is one of my favorite examples. It comes from Nissan in Brazil.
Você quer uma picape que tenha cavalos ou pôneis?
Pôneis malditos!
Pônei maldito, venha com a gente atolar. Odeio barro, odeio lama. Que nojinho, não vou sair do lugar. Te quero.
Escolha uma picape forte de verdade. Nissan Frontier, 172 cavalos, a mais forte da categoria. A Nissan tem um jeito inovador de pesar a força. Pense num Nissan.
Ei, você! Não fecha o vídeo, não! Deixa eu falar uma coisinha.
É o seguinte, se você não passar esse vídeo agora para 10 pessoas, você vai sofrer a maldição do pônei. Você vai ficar o resto da vida com essa música na cabeça.
Pônei maldito, lá 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 lá. Pônei maldito, lá 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 lá.
So I just love that, right? That's just simple, an extra 30 seconds of CGI that they had already done for the commercial spot, and thinking about, okay, how can we give this a little bit more life on YouTube, a little bit more life in the digital space? And if you look at the numbers, enough people were scared of the Curse of the Pony that about 5–10% of people shared this around. Unfortunately, I've had this song stuck in my head for not 10 years, but definitely a few months now. But I think it really shows the impact of thinking, how am I going to activate these things in the digital space, right? It shouldn't be, here's my digital strategy, here's my TV strategy. They need to merge, and they need to mesh. And I know that's easier said than done, but it doesn't need to be complex. It just takes this dedication in the upfront stage. So those are just a few examples of education. I'd like to show you a couple examples of, those were a few examples of entertainment. Moving on to education, we see brands really tapping into this how-to idea. So this is from B&Q. They're a home improvement warehouse in the UK. And they do a ton of videos around various, home or outdoor sort of things. This is just brand new. It only went live a little while ago. And you may be noticing a lot of these videos don't have a ton of views. And part of that is because it's brand new. But quite frankly, educational videos aren't going to get those millions and millions of views. But that really doesn't matter, because they're people who are interested in that particular category. Right? Ponies Malditos may have gotten millions of views, but several million of those won't be car buyers. There won't be anybody who's actually interested in your product. On the education side, a couple thousand views, in my opinion, is just as important as hundreds of thousands of views. So, they're giving themselves a great place for people to come and find this content and build up themselves as an authority in the do-it-yourself space. But again, even if you don't have the content, there's ways to win on YouTube by leveraging other things. So Bojena and Oren showed these YouTube partners. And we see these stars who are generating all sorts of revenue and all sorts of views by basically building up an audience on YouTube. In beauty, this is a woman, Nikki Tutorials. And you can see she has about 175,000 subscribers. Those are 175,000 people who are being notified every time she uploads a video, right? It's basically a TV channel in and of itself. And she's one of the small ones in terms of the stars. There's a woman by the name of Michelle Phan who has 2.5 million subscribers, right? That's a full-on TV audience for this woman uploading various tutorials and tips around makeup. So obviously you can put advertising alongside the content, but what we see more and more brands doing is actually enlisting them as advocates for their brand or advocates for their product. And this is one of my most favorite recent examples.
Hey guys, so today I'm doing another tutorial. I'm sort of doing my look of like my haute couture, like avant-garde version of the stars. Today we're using this palette. It is absolutely gorgeous. And we're also gonna use some rhinestones, as you could tell. These are the rhinestones. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I love you. That is what I'm gonna do today. And if you wanna know how I did this, then please keep on watching. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is take a really nice dark brown eyeshadow. And what you're going to do is apply this to your lower lash line. Like that. Okay, now I'm gonna take a really nice light highlighting color, and you're gonna highlight the lid with this. Apply this to your eyelids. Okay, now you're just going to take the glue, apply it to your eyes like that, and you take your rhinestone, and you just...
I saw at least half of you jump when that happened. That was the exact same reaction I had. Now that's, to me, that's great, right? It's VW, rather than just producing a public service announcement saying, don't put on your makeup and drive. They're actually enlisting one of these stars to do it in a very organic and a very natural way that's unexpected, but really gets the message across powerfully. A hell of a lot more powerfully than if it was just, you know, that little bit of print or some sort of kind of boring educational thing. So that's maybe an outlier example, but one example of brands enlisting these stars. So last but not least, we have expression. And no YouTube presentation would be complete without mentioning Old Spice, so I'm mentioning Old Spice. That's it. I won't show Old Spice. I'm sick of it. You're all sick of it. We get it, right? What's been interesting, though, is that they pioneered this idea of personalized response, right? So this idea of giving something back to the user in the form of a video. And what's been really fascinating to me is to see how brands are taking this forward. So how are they taking that and building on that? And O2 in the UK has been really active in this. They did it around Christmas. They just did it for Valentine's Day with something called the O2 Cupid. So if you tweeted at O2 Cupid, they would create these personalized videos using this guy or his unidentical twin and basically create a video for you. So they created over 800 of these over the course of a few days, right? Really low cost, low production budget, but it's that idea of giving something back to the user and giving them a sense of ownership, something that is personalized for them. And it's not just O2. Kraft has been really active in this. This is a guy who is, has anybody heard of the Golden Homeless voice? Anyone? No? Okay, a couple people. Basically, this guy in LA was homeless, and it turned out he was begging for change. He has this perfect voice for radio, right? Like this very soothing, Barry White, melodic voice. And it became sort of a phenomenon. He was on the morning talk shows, etc. And then Kraft finally enlisted him as a brand ambassador. And this is what they did around Valentine's Day.
Hi, I'm Ted Williams. Last year, I received a lot of love from people who really helped out. That's why this Valentine's Day, I'd like to do something a little different and give back the best way I know how. From February 12th through the 14th, do something extra special for that certain someone. Tell them you care by having me tell them for you. Tweet 140 characters straight from the heart. Tag it with Voice of Love, and I'll read the best ones out loud, like this. At Tweedledee137, you are the toppings to my froyo. Just keep on being you. For every Voice of Love tweet that you send my way, Kraft will donate 100 boxes of mac and cheese. Up to 100,000 boxes to a cause very near and dear to my heart, Feeding America, a national hunger relief organization. So this Valentine's Day, don't be shy with your feelings. Log on to Twitter. I love you very much.
Now, obviously, both of those are very Twitter-centric, but it's not exclusive to that, right? It could be Facebook, it could be YouTube. I know Twitter's not very big here, but it's just this low-cost way of actually creating something for the user. And in this case, not only does the user get a personalized video, they also get to feel like they're doing good, right? Because Kraft is donating food to the homeless. And you can see they created almost 300 of these. And in this case, it was even more low budget. So they weren't even doing videos with him. It was just voiceovers with cute, cuddly rabbits or little kittens grazing or nuzzling each other. And so they had the tweet, they had him reading it, and then basically stock video footage of these cute little animals. But it's something that really resonates with users. And I read a great quote that I'm going to completely steal from a colleague. And he said that creating something personal, even if it's not really high quality, has much more impact than something that's incredibly high quality that's not just personal for the user. And I probably just mangled his quote, but you get the point. And I think it's been put even better by the AKQA founder. He just wrote a great book called Velocity. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. But just in terms of digital marketing in general, it's this idea that the best ideas respect the user, and they gives the user something to get out of the work. It inspires them, it motivates them, it satisfies them. And it's this idea that you can't just bombard them with messages anymore, right? You have to give something back. You have to provide utility, provide entertainment, provide inspiration. So I think that's a really good sort of framework to think about your digital activity moving forward. So thank you very much for your time.